Hello and welcome to Cafe Chronicles Season 2. Very excited. Delighted to have Dan here. Dan's my next door neighbour. Season 1, you'll remember, we started on this very sofa and kind of said, hey, I think we'd like to build a cafe racer. What's a cafe racer? You know, let's try and build one. How hard can it be? And hey, you know what? We pulled it off. It was okay. Lots of people kind of said it to me, what's going to happen when you don't have anything else to build? So Dan's next door going, I've got one we can work on. Notice in the last video I mentioned, or a few videos ago I mentioned Season 2 was coming up and gave a little bit of an announcement that we're going to do something a little bit different. This is it. What we're planning on doing is taking Dan's KZ750 and basically building a cafe racer from it. This one is going to be a little bit different. We're going to try and do a cafe racer build on a budget. We see all over the net lots of budget builds using duct tape, Bondo, you know, all sorts of zip ties. We're going to stay away from that. We're going to do it as best we can. Like always, we'll do it safely. We're going to see if we can try and keep the cost down as much as possible, and we'll be as transparent as possible on the price with you guys. So we'll have a think about upfront setting a budget. We're basically going to try and do our best to do a budget build of a really nice bike that Dan loves and can ride, and we'll do it in a timely fashion so that we can finish it all start to finish and hopefully bring you guys on the path as well. I want you guys to get to know Dan a little bit. First off, I want to ask you a few questions. What's it like being my neighbor?
It's fantastic.
Like, good answer. That's enough. That's enough about that. Yeah. Before he gets into going, apart from when, you know, I'll stop that there. I still need to put the clock behind you here so you can see what I'm editing. Yes, I love things like that. Thank you. You are a good neighbor. Yeah. So I have a few questions that I think would be helpful for us to know about what your plans are for the build and what you want. But before we get into that, why Cafe Racer? Where did you hear about Cafe Racers?
Yeah, so my buddy had this, I think it was a Yamaha 600. Water cooled, all that fun stuff. But it was just a modern crotch rocket kind of thing. And it wasn't doing it for me. And he was trying to get me into it, and he was showing me all these things, and the bikes weren't really jiving with me. And I don't know what I mentioned. I think my neighbor bought an old, I want to say Ural, some sort of Russian bike that was loosely based on an old Harley design. Huh. But it had that sort of vintage look to it. And so I like the vintage looks, but I'm dead set against Harleys, no offense. And so he's like, you know what I think you'll like? And he brings up a picture of a BMW R9T, basically a factory cafe. Mm-hmm. For like what, 80 grand or something like that.
I think it could be 30.
Of a new car, you could have a factory cafe build.
yeah.
Absolutely loved the bike, and then that launched me into that huge wormhole of looking into what cafe racers are and seeing all the modifications that people do to them. And then I was browsing through Kijiji listings and then found this Kawasaki listed for $1,000.
Dan was actually a bad influence on me, because when you bought your bike, you called me and you said, hey, can you mind helping me with the truck? I'm like, yeah. You're like, I want to pick up a bike. So we went with you and we picked up the bike, and it was before even I had gotten into it. And you had even said, I'm going to build a cafe racer. And for me, I'm like, oh, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I haven't been into bikes in a while, and yeah, I used to like bikes and blah, 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 and that was it. It kind of sowed the seed, you know, and then it kind of went, I don't want to say manifested from there, festered. Okay, so we show up with this KZ750 in the back of the truck. We pull it into your garage, and you kind of left it for a while, like.
A very long time.
How long is it?
4 years.
4 years. Holy, I didn't think it was that long. I think this is really good, because the hard part I found was to try and keep the motivation on. A lot of comments and messages I get on YouTube and Instagram and such are around people that have started projects, even are halfway through them, and life just gets in the way. Like you said, you got married in between that, renovating your home in between that, you know, new job, blah, 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 it all happens. And all of a sudden, a year, 2 years pass. Like, I've talked to guys online that are saying, yeah, I'm in the middle of a build, it's been a few years, I had kids in the meantime, I did this.
They're going to college now?
Yeah, going back to college, whatever the hell it is, you know. Oh, the kids! Yeah, kids are in university now. The moral of the story is, sometimes it's hard to like keep the motivation. I found with the video series, it was a great way to motivate me. I really found it really helpful to do that. So hopefully we'll do the same with yours. Maybe you could tell us first a little bit about the bike. So it's a KZ750, Kawasaki KZ750. What year is it?
It is a 1980.
It's an inline four, same as mine. Two major differences. One, it is a wet sump, so it doesn't have an exterior oil tank. Mine does, which is good and bad. I kind of liked it at the time, it was kind of cool, but afterwards, yeah, it's a bit of a pain too, and a lot of people like to even do conversions. But yours is a wet sump, which is cool, and the other thing is it's a dual overhead cam. We've taken a little look. I'm going to put some stuff on screen that will show kind of what Dan's thinking about. Dan shared a Pinterest board with me of kind of some cool things that he liked online. Styles, colours, things that he liked. You liked the kind of blacked out look.
Yeah.
Rear end of the bike, you liked the kind of brat style, where it was kind of more of a flatter kind of a seat rather than one with a cowl or...
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting because there's a couple of designs out there that have sort of that, it's a mix between the two. It's a brat style seat, but they just add a bit of a hump to the back of the seat to make it more cafe racer cowlish. So you get the sight line of a traditional cafe racer, but it's not going to be body molding that sort of caps off the rear there. It's actually just a little bit of an elevated support on the seat for any passenger that you may carry. We're
gonna have a go at hand painting the tank, or spray painting the tank ourselves. We're gonna paint the frame rather than powder coat it. We're gonna rebuild the calipers. We'll probably get new rear suspension. We've kind of talked about an accent color too, and we'll show that up. We talked about gold accent colors. We talked about a few different things. If we select maybe a rear shock that has the pigtails, which sometimes you can choose the color then, which would be neat too. We'll try and use the wiring harness. We will rebuild the carbs. The exhaust.
I want a 4-into-1. I don't like the factory.
Okay. So we'll have a look for a 4-into-1.
On a budget.
And like that could be something that's neat. We might end up seeing a used exhaust even that's 4-into-1 that looks a little worse for wear, but we can wrap it.
Hey viewers, if you have a lead on a KZ750 or KZ650 4-into-1 exhaust, let Steve know.
Yeah, your tooth kind of sparkle like bing, when you say that. But yeah, for sure. So any donations for parts on a bike, please let us know if you've got something that you want to get rid of. We'll probably change up the instrument cluster. Maybe headlight.
Brake light.
And brake lights, signals. Timeline. What about a timeline? If we were ready to rock and roll for kind of late April, it would mean that you could get safetied and ahead of the rush probably too. Get it plated and have it on the road for May. If we're talking about cafe racer on a budget, good idea to talk about is budget. What's your budget that you have in mind?
Under $1,000.
If we say under $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll say $1,500 project. Well, hear me out.
Okay.
Start to finish, because I spent $500 on the bike.
On the bike, okay.
$500 on the bike, $1,000 to get it all fixed up. Now the good news is I haven't actually bought anything for the bike yet, so we can keep all the receipts and everything else. $500 for the bike.
Yeah.
Post up all the receipts when the project's done.
Yeah. What we can do is we can put together a list of what we're thinking. We'll publish the list online and let anybody who's interested take a look through it. Make any suggestions to what maybe you might recommend. If you see something on there and you're like, that's a piece of crap, don't get it, we prefer to know up front. Because we're trying to save some money, we don't want to do so in a way where we're just going to spend money and end up throwing things away and spending more money. We can start getting into stripping down the bike. We'll do the same process. It's the same process as I used where my wife nearly murdered me. We went through about 8 boxes of Ziploc sandwich bags in a week, but basically sandwich bags, Ziplocs, write the component, the fastener, whatever it is, label it, pop it into a bag and box it, and then we know in 6 months time where it came from and all that kind of stuff. I've given you guys a little bit of a kind of a teaser of, hey, season 2's coming, it's going to be cool, it's a cafe racer on a budget. So we hope that you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be a little bit different too. I'm not going to be talking to myself in the garage. Now Dan's going to be kind of telling me to shut up, which is a good thing. Also, it's just nice to have somebody else to kind of slap you in the head when you're doing something stupid. Dan's got some experience with on cars and that. We will get stuck into it. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We're going to have beers. Hopefully you guys will join us on beers as well when you're watching in. And we'll try and keep the episodes kind of coming out every week, the same as we did with season 1, the first build for the CB750. This one's going to be the KZ750. Hopefully it'll inspire you guys if you're looking for a budget build, to know that you can do it properly, nicely, and get things looking really smart, and you can do it on a budget and do it in a timely fashion too. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching from Dan and I.
Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe.
That's my line.